Hello everyone and welcome to the stream. You are live with Endeavor Gaming. We are back on the air tonight to talk about the all-new lore blog that got posted earlier today and making some theories for the next mission in Star Trek Online. So without further ado, let's just go on ahead and get into it. Here we are, back in Star Trek Online. It is great to see everybody on this very fine, what day of the week is it? Wednesday evening. How is everybody doing? Hello, Flo. Hey, Jacervo. Hello, Rachel and Arwen. Hope you are all having a fantastic evening. Hello, Kalora. Hope everybody is doing great. So, as many of y'all know, I normally do not go live on Wednesdays, but today was a day of days, because we have an all-new lore blog to talk about. So let me just go ahead and kick off our stream tonight by pulling this up on the big screen. Ooh, well that is certainly not the lore blog. That is a blank screen. Aha, which is weird. There we go. There's the lore blog. So, first off, we have this absolutely incredible artwork of Odo and Loris and another changeling talking to one of the Herc. And as is talked about a little bit more in this lore blog, they're like shifting through all of the different forms and trying to match the Herc so that they can speak in their own language and make things go smoother. I'm sorry, I said that this was Odo, but it's just a changeling. It's just another changeling. And I know that. And my brain immediately went to Odo. But going down to the artwork here, it was done by Albert Codero, who is a concept and marketing artist at Cryptic Studios. And of course, written by Flo here in chat, who is absolutely awesome. And in our normal fashion, we are going to look at this image and blow it up and go through all of the details. For one, this like showing the like changeling coming out of the Great Link and sort of morphing it. This looks absolutely incredible. That is awesome. And I just noticed they have the like little sound waves coming out of both the changeling here and the Herc that was talking. Nice little nod to what we see them do in STO whenever they're articulating. You see those like sound waves propagating out of their mouths too. That's a cool little touch. It's not something I really thought about until I saw it in this picture up close, but that is what we see them do, especially when they jump scare us later in the Gamma Quadrant arc. So, diving into today's lore blog. A general overview. We finally get some insight into what the Dominion has been doing since the last time we saw them, basically, and getting some explanation as to why they weren't with us during Best Laid Plans. So, it seems like the Dominion has very much taken the stance of they're trying to work on their own stuff. They purposefully did not get involved in the last issue, thinking that, you know, it wasn't something that was going to affect them. And then, of course, it ended up affecting them. So, as this blog goes on a little further, you find out that even on Impersa, they got hit by the Aetherians. Loris's ship is completely out of commission at this point. It was taken over by Aetherian hacking, and a bunch of their stations on the Founder's homeworld of Impersa have been damaged. So I guess that means that not only did the Aetherians hack a bunch of ships, but did they have like a full-on assault on the planet at one point too? And nice, yeah, if you just played through the Gamma Quadrant arc, a lot of that feeds into this. Tenebris Torquent was an absolutely amazing mission. For one, it introduced those awesome environmental suits and had a lot of like cool stuff in it. Actually, that mission also had a 0G section, not too dissimilar from what we had in Best Laid Plans. And in the beginning of the blog, so it's Loris very much not believing the fact that Tassine Fey or Tefei is being kept where the cooperative says. Because in their report, it says that they've been keeping her in the Genolan Dyson Sphere, which Loris immediately does not believe, which is fair, because it's a lie. And then she makes the idea of reaching out to some of the other factions and saying, hey, so what did you guys hear from the cooperative? Where do you think Tassine Fey is? And of course, a bunch of people get the same answer, but we find out later that some people did get different answers, like the Lucari, which was really interesting to find out that despite everything going on, the Lucari and Klingons received a different report. And they were told that it was Starbase 621. And then said Starfleet is known to host important tribunals there. I forget if Starbase 621 has been brought up at any point in Star Trek Online. Let's see, Starbase 621. It has, yes. Okay, it has been brought up. It's in the wiki. So, Starbase 621 is a Federation starbase located in the Zenkat sector of the Alpha Quadrant. So we haven't done anything there, but a nice little nod to the galaxy as a whole. In the Alpha Quadrant, Starbase 621 is part of the sector space map over there. And it was added with the sector space revamp of Season 10. That is a neat little detail. Going as far as picking out a starbase that is canonically like in the Alpha Quadrant is a really nice touch. And let's see, another big thing that's coming out is that the Herc want a bunch of the metals that the Dominion has been mining from their asteroid field. They wanted to reinforce their ships. And the Jem'Hadar / Dominion wanted to build more seeker bombs. And Odo's decree is to give the Herc what they want, which is fair. They're trying to build relations with the Herc, and things are probably kind of tense given that, the Herc were effectively enslaved by the Dominion for a good long while. A weapon of their own making. Spoilers for the Gamma Quadrant arc. And that's very true. It's a good thing that we've been kind of lying to most of our allies, though I imagine that's only going to widen the divide between us. All this secrecy, it can't possibly be good for the Alliance. The fact that nobody knows where Tefei is being kept, except for, as far as I can tell, 7 of 9 and the Cooperative. And probably not even the entire Cooperative, probably just Hugh and a chosen few. Victory is life. But it does seem like the Cooperative's ideas of cleansing their ships of the Aetherian virus are proving effective, because as soon as they got them, Loris's ship is ready to go within the hour. We still haven't figured out why the Aetherians want to fuse their ships, though, and I think that's a very important question that we haven't really dug too much in yet. And we get the first instance, I think, that we see of the Aetherian sabotage working on people, which I think is also a pretty big point to bring up. So we've seen the Aetherians fuse the control board before, and we know that they were like most certainly abducting people, but this is the first time where somebody that like we actively know got fused and then proceeded to attack allies. I wonder, did the Jem'Hadar like completely turn into an Aetherian, or were they just like mind controlled and tried to kill their entire squadron? Maybe Flo could answer that. How does that work when they're taken over? Erwin, I'm not convinced that Sean dodged it, to be honest. His eyes turned green. I am of the belief that anything that the Aetherians wanted to do, they did. No! Not the smile! I think that the Aetherian mind corruption is just in the mind. I think that physically changing them into Aetherian forms is a conscious choice. I think that it is a very conscious choice, because they also don't have to take that form, you know? They can also be the constructs, the cube things, because those are living Aetherians too. And then you have the Watcher forms like Zildat Bex and Golor Bex. And then even between the humanoids, we see a lot of different variants of them. Biogenetic fusion. Shame that fourth had to be eliminated. Very hard working Jem'Hadar. So true. So, I think that the Aetherians can influence the minds of people without having them undergo biogenetic fusion. Which I think tracks, because how would the fourth have been taken by the Aetherians? Clearly that wasn't the case here, right? We cannot let this corruption spread. My fourth almost killed his entire squadron last week. He had to be eliminated, of course. It seems like they didn't know. So if he had turned into an Aetherian, it would have been obvious. I think that he was mind controlled. Disruptors calibrated to halt genetic manipulation. Bioneurological dampening fields to mitigate the persuasive of Aetherian axioms. Okay, wait a minute. And we did see what happened in Shattered Peace. That is very true. Bioneurological dampening fields to mitigate the persuasiveness of Aetherian axioms. That is not talking about the ships. The Aetherians saying their axioms to us has some effect the same way. Okay, connection time. The view screen of the board skew was the Aetherian virus on the IKS board skew. And we found out, thanks to the amazing work of people in the lore chat, that it was part of the Aetherian axiom. The same way that the axiom can affect ships, it can affect people. When the Aetherians are saying this to us, it is not just to make a point and, talk on like the normal Borg do. It's purposefully supposed to be messing with our heads and persuading us into doing the Aetherians' bidding. When the Aetherians were trying to get into Sean's head right after Tassine Faye had him picked up, that was with the plan of getting in his head and persuading him to do what they wanted. And then, when we're on the Enterprise and we hear them talking about the Final Frontier and how it makes Hugh feel uncomfortable, this is all on purpose. Their axioms can mind control people. Oh shit, their axioms can mind control people. It definitely... Another theory. I think that saying these axioms has considerably less of an effect on subjects who have already been assimilated. We see the Borg. They have to get changed over completely, first by removing all of their previously existing Borg stuff, and then putting them through biogenetic fusion. But in our case, the reason why Hugh wasn't susceptible to it, or the cooperative people during the mission axiom, is because they've already been assimilated. Axioms don't work on them. Tassine Faye put them in those stasis chambers to figure out how the best way to assimilate them was. Exactly, and that's what I was going to get to next, Arwen. The player character has also already been assimilated in the events of Scorpion's Abyss, which is why we're resistant to it. And Seven is resistant to it because she's already been assimilated. But Sean isn't. Neither is Corin. Neither is Jarok. Kalora, I think you might have been on the right track there. I think there might be something here. Now, in my usual fashion, I'm going to try and... Y'all don't even know what's coming for you. You can't say things like that! No! I think we may be on the right track, though. I think we might be cooking right now. Hang on. I'm screenshotting this and putting it in lore chat. So, Aetherian axioms can affect the minds of the people that hear them. Night Forager, I think that we have a natural resistance to it because we've already been assimilated. We've seen that the way the Aetherians deal with Borg is by removing all of the previous Borg stuff and then biogenetically fusing them. They haven't used the axiom on any of that. Another thought occurs to me. In Best Laid Plans, you know how we see all of those officers also kind of losing their minds? They were hearing the axioms and it was driving them crazy. They're being affected. All they have to do is hear or see the axioms, and they basically just become sleeper agents. Ooh. The galaxy has torn itself apart. They basically have people everywhere. All they would have to... They met with a bunch of captains during the lore blog forever ago. Hang on. Hang on one second. Hang on one second. Hang on. I need the mighty compendium here. All right. Do 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 do. Tassim Faye was here in a meeting room with all of the most important faction leaders and famed starship captains of the Alliance. Does she say any of the axiom? So, she gives out the Iati, which can corrupt the systems of ships and spread the axioms to the technology on board our ships, right? And then she wants to get in contact with as many different groups as possible to start affecting their minds. Quinn could be affected. And yeah, you got a good point. Let's see. However, during the onslaught, it dawned upon some of us that only through unity and harmony could we keep our people strong and secure. I think that's as close to the axiom as they say there. But that means she started affecting them as early as this. I don't think that it has to be specifically the big axiom, the through harmony and through, like, I don't think so. Through harmony we are strong, through unity we are secure, through fusion we are victorious. Because they say a bunch of other axioms during Best Laid Plans, like the one that talks about the final frontier. I think that they're somehow hiding, like... Endeavor's afraid to say it real quick. Maybe. I'm gonna see, like, the word through in a report somewhere, and I'm gonna be like, oh no! It's trying to take over my mind! But I think that might have been the point. I think this was all very much on purpose. And now she's in a conference with all of the Alliance leaders. And specifically wanted to get info on, like, the Lucari, which seemed interesting. Also, do we not have a page on Lemirin yet? I need to do that. Wow. Oh, I guess this is specifically talking about Lemirin from the other universe. I can do that. But she was super interested in getting on board a Lucari ship here. You would not transport it back to the Riskava? It was very important that a Niadi get on board there. Whatever plan she has, it requires Kumara K in the Riskava. And then we have the anomaly that happens on the Jalit in the anomaly. Right there, I imagine, is an Iadi. And I'm going to take a wild guess and say that the code coming off of this thing somehow includes the axiom. I don't think that the player captain was at that one. At least if we were, I don't think it ever stated it. We also know that whatever is going on with the systems, it messes up just about everything. And they knew that the ship had been compromised. We can't fall to the axiom. And right here, they say, how can a language cause our warp field to malfunction? I guess we didn't know it at the time, but this was Aetherian, wasn't it? Concordium Diplomatic Ambassador. Was that much I can say. So it was Aetherian, and at this point in the blog, we didn't know that the Aetherians were evil anyway. The events of Axiom hadn't happened yet, and we're sending you the details now, any moment now. So we're sending you on a highly classified mission with a very important individual. We'd rather not keep waiting. I guess, was this 7 at this point? I guess the onslaught had already happened. We were picking somebody. Oh yeah, I guess it could have been Hugh, because this was the last blog before Axiom. That's right. Yeah, that might have been picking up Hugh. Then again, he wouldn't have taken the Riskava anyway. Oh wait, yes. Because the Riskava and us both got a call to head to I'm trying to remember what the system name was. Not 13 SETI, because that was the mission after it. But we both got called to that system by Hugh. So at this point, Hugh was Ramizad. Thank you, Ramizad. So this was getting called in by Q. Or Q? Hugh. Because then we had Unveiled. And then we had Aftermath right after it. And then we had Above All Else. So let's go back through this real quick. We established that at least one of these was the Zenkethi. That is the protomatter container that went missing, that was stolen by the Zenkethi. We have the Kita shard, which we guessed was around Kittimer, and that is exactly where it ended up. We know that the Kita is at Kittimer. We don't know how it got there, though. We have ship malfunctions. I realize now that this might be calling out the Jalit in that lore blog. And then we have the last known position of Tassin Fei. So there's technically one other rebel activity thing marked. And of course, at this point, we are ignoring the Chimerans for reasons. I think we talk about them here in this vlog. We do. What of Tassin Fei and neutralizing the Aetherian threat? What of determining the nature and origin of this Chimeran specimen our captains allege to have come face to face with? So at this point, the faction leaders weren't even sure if the Chimerans were a real thing. I do have stuff to say about the Chimerans, by the way. Time to go into my amazing head from earlier, and I have to scroll up a bunch in the Discord to find the screenshots that I sent. So, pulling from the wiki, and fun fact, this was, I think, a picture that I got and put on the wiki, but this is a Chimeran. The thing that I had noticed first, at least as far back as Axiom, was the fact that they didn't seem to have a head. They had a giant chest that was their entire upper body and no head and very like spindly body things everywhere else. In Best Laid Plans, we got an even better look at them, including this picture of the side view of them, which includes some kind of big grate with a glowing mass in the middle. But that's not what I want to focus on. What I want to focus on is this worm-like thing on the front of it that seems to be wired into the rest of the body. There had been a lot of like thoughts and theories about it, but earlier today, a Twitter page, I think it might have been Jorg, posted a bunch of pictures of Trill symbiotes from all the different shows that we see them in. And the first one was how it appeared in TNG. Right here. And when I saw the picture, I was like, wait a minute. Colorful spots. Colorful spots. Colorful spots. I think the worm on the front of the Chimeran is a symbiote. The question is, why? Granted, this raises more questions than it actually answers, but that's definitely a symbiote, right? You can see the little colorful spots on the back end of it facing towards it, like these. And then you've got all of these spots running down the front of it that we can see right here. The Chimerans are at least partly Trill. A bony General Grievous. General Kenobi. If this thing pulls out a bunch of nanopulse batlets or something, that would be the coolest thing ever. But I'd like to point out that as a Chimeran, this is only part of the puzzle. But now we know one part of the puzzle. The Chimerans are at least part Trill. Or Trill symbiote. Let's see. I think we also drew Trill from All That Matters because Kamarke specifically called out Tellarite and Trill Borg. Got a good point there. So do you think that this Chimeran is Trill and Tellarite specifically? Because, I mean, it still doesn't answer the question of what the first one was. Because I assume that that one has been around longer than basically we've been dealing with the Aetherians in general. It was already on board the Harmony. Unless the Aetherians were just as confused about it as we are. New theory time. The Aetherians were very, very, very curious about Hugh. In fact, as soon as they got the opportunity, they stunned him and threw him in a stasis pod to study him. Because they wanted to figure out the best way of fusing them. They had figured out Control Borg at this point, because they were fusing them actively, and they were fusing Mirror Borg. But they hadn't figured out Liberated Borg yet. What if the Chimeran was never an Aetherian thing at all? What if our universe's Borg has been toying around with these new variants? I mean, our Borg haven't been a threat in a pretty long time, like lore-wise. I'm assuming that, like, in the lore that Flow is kind of building up over this arc, the events of, like, the previous Borg TFOs and everything else kind of have still played out more or less the same. So, like, the virus hits the cooperative from Janeway. They're actively falling apart. First contact happens. The Queen is destroyed in the past. The Queen comes back. We fight her through Infected. You have Dinatra's sort of group with the Kittimer TFOs, and we ultimately defeat the Borg Queen in not Hive Onslaught. What we kind of do in Hive Onslaught, but no, I guess Hive Onslaught is like the last place that we deal with her. Then there's the Delta Quadrant one, where we fight her, the Voth City ship, and the Tethys Bio Dreadnought. And she even keeps talking after that and tells us that this isn't the end of the collective, I can promise you that. So it's fair to say that somewhere the Queen is still kicking somewhere. What if this entire time we've been looking at this the wrong way of what connection the Chimerans could have to the Aetherians? What if there is no actual connection? What if the Borg have just been screwing around with taking the symbiotes from the Trill and fusing them with something like a Tellarite to create a super soldier Borg variant? This wouldn't even be the first time, because we even have the missions like in Fluid Dynamics where they were actively invading fluidic space again because they wanted to assimilate species 847-2. And then they had the Elite assimilated tactical Gorn too, which was their attempt at making like a Borg super soldier. This Chimeran is taking not just Borg, but fusing it with two other species at the same time. And the reason why it looks like this is because they're basically forcing the symbiote into a host that it normally wouldn't go with. So instead of like a normal joining, they're taking the symbiotes out, fusing them with some other species that makes them stronger, or maybe even multiple through genetic manipulation, and are creating these. And the Aetherians came to our universe, and one of the first things that they stumbled upon were these things. And they're trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Because, yeah, and you're right, Arwen, this is way too mechanical for something that just seems like biogenetic fusion. With all of the tubes, it's got the, like, clawed hands. It feels very reminiscent of the virus-stricken Borg from Vega Colony. Which would mean when they took over the Midas Array, oh my god. I think that because of the way that they are created through literally can't speak on any of this, but definitely note down all your theories. It's interesting and fun. I plan on putting all of this on the whiteboard after the stream. With their more bioorganic properties, it makes sense that they might be able to spread their influence with protomatter. I imagine that the Borg were using that. Heck, if they had gotten their hands on some protomatter at some point, they could just be using it to grow the bodies and then just throw the Trill symbiotes onto them. They could just be lab-grown bodies. That's a good point. A joint Trill also had two separate brainwave patterns, one from the host and one from the symbiote. You know, when they took over the Midas Array, the first thing they did was start sending out a signal. They could just be calling the Borg. This could be problematic. So, as much as we're dealing with the Aetherians, we also now have the Borg showing. Hey. Hey, 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 hey. Hey. I don't think that it was the fact that the Borg detected protomatter and that's why they showed up in all that matter. I think that the Chimeran specimen on board sent out a signal to call for that Borg cube. A genetically enhanced Borg that is both intelligent and is capable of much deeper thought, like sneaking around Zenkethi starbases. And it has a control over protomatter. It uses its nanites to corrupt protomatter. We've been kind of seeing the terraforming as degrading the Borg cubes, but what if it's evolving them? What if the Borg are evolving into this? Oh my good lord. This might be bad. Because again, I'm not convinced that the Aetherians really had anything to do with the Chimerans anymore. The same way that they were studying Q to figure out the best way to fuse him, the Chimeran specimen was just the one that they picked out. What if it wasn't ever the first one? It's just the one that the Aetherians got their hands on, and the Borg have been playing this long game the whole time. Mom, the Zenkethi are being mean to me. Can you come pick me up? I wish that the Chimerans had shown up anywhere outside of cutscenes, because then I could load them up in demo record. Unfortunately, they've only shown up in cutscenes, so I can't do that. I want... No. Their ships haven't shown up outside of a cutscene either. Darn it. You don't think we thought of that? No! How dare you stop me from doing things I'm not supposed to do? That's not fair. I'm a Starfleet Admiral. I don't know if it's even specifically a rebranding. I just think that these things are like Borg spec ops in a way. Like the same way that we were dealing with Elite Tactical Gorn and stuff. These are their new, like, super soldiers. You know what else is terrifying? So, normal Borg don't run. These Borg can sprint. Have you ever, like, been watching a zombie movie or playing a zombie game, and you know you're absolutely cooked as soon as the zombies start running? This is that. The zombies can run now. They can run now. First they could fly because the one Borg officer, crap, what's her name? Rebecca Simmons. Rebecca Simmons could fly. These Borg can run. That's not good. I do not remember what the Borg name for Rebecca Simmons was. Was she Manus? Was Rebecca Simmons Manus? I think she was. I'm like 90% sure that she was. I'm going to check real quick. That's a bit of a deep knowledge, and I really should know that considering that I purposefully put Rebecca Simmons in my last video because I really wanted to showcase some of the Borg. It was absolutely Manus. Cool. Speaking of which, anybody who hasn't yet should totally go to my YouTube and watch my latest fan trailer. It was apparently very, very popular and is the second most watched video on my channel, which is very cool. But it showcases lots of Borg. Also, I just realized I don't need to be blinding everybody here. There we go. Totally forgot that I had dark mode. Yes, the no one gets left behind trailer. Also, give me 1 second, guys. I'm gonna go fill up my water again, and then we're gonna talk more lore. You know I'm back. I'm back. You know it. Oh, what error am I getting from Streamlabs? Is it Streamlabs being mad that I was talking without unmuting my mic? That's exactly what it was mad about. It gets upset at the very idea that I could be talking while my mic is muted. Crazy. But yeah, I do think that we are absolutely screwed. But like, the Chimeran is a Borg experiment, not an Aetherian experiment. That is now my theory. I don't think it was ready to be unleashed, though. Hang on. Do I have cutscene running? Do I have an in progress best laid plans at the moment? Yeah, but it's at the very beginning. Oh well. So, I mean, yeah, basically. It's raw! Where's the Borg sauce? So, now that you've all heard my ramblings for the past, however long it's been, 48 minutes, what do you guys think? How are my theories hitting y'all? Have I completely lost my mind? It is absolutely a rhetorical question, but have I lost my mind? So, we're at a point where we now know that the Aetherians saying their axioms out loud can affect our minds, and the Chimerans are not an Aetherian creation, but a Borg creation made using protomatter. The question is, where did they get the protomatter from in the first place? Also, that the Trill symbiote is a part of this little mashup. Why the dots, Jacervo? Welcome to Gamma Hydra.
Welcome to the Gamma Hydra training facility. In this exercise,
Redacted! I've been redacted by my own redacted! But I do think that we might be on the right path.
We have struck a gravitic mine and have lost all power. Our hull is penetrated and we have sustained many casualties.
My last few questions. Oh, asking whether or not I was crazy. I'm not crazy. Crazy? I was crazy once. They put me in a room. A rubber room with Chimerans. The Chimerans made me crazy. Crazy? I was crazy once. They put me in a room. A rubber room with Chimerans. The Chimerans made me crazy. Crazy? I was crazy once. Oh my god, it's the Cryptea. Oh my god, it was the Cryptea. They're Borg! It's a Borg plot, I tell you! I am absolutely crazy not to take on the FCA. I will not calm down, not until I know the secrets of the Aetherians.
It's not over yet. The next wave is coming.
That sounds pretty reasonable.
Warning. Artillery incoming. Exit area immediately.
Bio-neural warhead!
It's not over yet. The next wave is coming. The volatile core breacher fix is active. The next wave is incoming. Enemy assault incoming. Survive the onslaught.
So, why would the Borg want to create something like the Chimeran in the first place? Going off of this theory, what would be the motivation of creating something like that? I mean, we haven't exactly seen them messing around with protomatter before, have we? We've seen them want to create super soldiers with the Gorin and the Undine, but this is certainly the first time we've seen them do something this bold. Something that can have a localized hive mind via the symbiotes. But why would they want a localized hive mind? That seems very much not in the normal thought process of the Borg. Maybe something part of the hive mind but capable of independent thought?
Heads up! Another wave is coming your way. Alright, everyone. This simulation is over. Here.
To avoid disconnected happening again? That's fair. I think we need to do all that matter again. I need to see the Chimerans doing something. Oh, I can't wait to hear this. What you got, Arwen? Finishing daily. Fair.
This is Captain Lethpar of the Xantavi.
I'm going to do all that matter. I mean, Rachel, I wouldn't consider the player captain to be, like, infallible. At least not in terms of, like, the canon storyline. I mean, we did get assimilated. The only reason we're not still assimilated is, you know, effectively plot armor from Dax. What if we were the Chimeran all along? What if the real Chimeran were the friends we made along the way? Brr, 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 brr. We got assimilated because we have no peripheral vision and are canonically deaf. Yeah, we definitely don't have any peripheral vision, given that, like, we just could not see that Borg. Meanwhile. So we hear that Borg skulking around. The Zinkethi hears him. And there he is, hiding up in the rafters. Remember, here, it doesn't even go after the Zinkethi. It goes specifically after the protomatter.
I thank you for answering the CSS steadfast call for assistance. Admiral Kamarke.
I also feel inclined to mention here that in best laid plans, Zen rolled nat 1 on that perception check. Our captain did the same thing in Scorpion's Abyss, so I'll let it slide. But I look at it from this perspective. At the end of best laid plans, we see multiple ships. So we know that in this mission, all that matter, they take control of the Zinkethi station through basically assimilation, but in this case terraforming. And because of the protomatter explosion, they take over the Borg cube. But the fact that we see the space station get terraformed after with this fungal creep tells me that the protomatter isn't the secret sauce to assimilating in this case. It just also does it. But the Chimerans are able to do it on their own. Because at that point, the protomatter wasn't on board the station anymore anyway. We had already beamed it off, and it was sitting in space between us and the Borg cube. Unless it just needed more. The protomatter works with the nanites, so it's basically just a bunch of nanites. If you have a bunch of them at scale, you can assimilate entire things almost immediately, versus having to do it in small pieces. You know, like, you have a bunch of drones, And yeah, you can eventually assimilate a planet, but it's going to be slow going. But if you have the equivalent of a nanite bomb, it goes a lot quicker. Which is why the Borg were after it. The Borg. Okay. So, the Chimeran specimen breaks out of the Harmony, ends up going wherever it goes, drawn to protomatter, which may be the secret sauce of spreading its nanites faster. Because it terraforms, it doesn't just assimilate. The Chimeran aboard the Zenkethi starbase finally gets there, and it finds this huge cache of protomatter. Now, it can't just leave with this protomatter. It can't do anything with it, you know? It's just one Chimeran. So what does it do? It calls in the Borg to assist and help it get the protomatter. Unfortunately, by the time it gets there, we've already tried to start taking it. And, you know, we have our back and forth. It ends up exploding, and it ends up terraforming the Borg cube, which wasn't the plan. I don't think that the terraforming of the Borg cube was by design. It's just doing it. The Chimerans were created to help the Borg spread, but I don't think it was supposed to be used on them. They're a weapon that the Borg don't have control over yet. So, the Borg get this protomatter, it corrupts their ship, and they immediately retreat back to Borg space. And from there, it starts spreading like a virus. Both from the Zenkethi station to other ships, and back to the Borg cube, wherever it goes, corrupting more and more ships, which is why we see multiple ships over time. It wasn't setting off protomatter bombs or anything. The virus spreads through the Chimerans themselves. They can corrupt technology with or without giant protomatter bombs. They can just spread their influence through their nanites. The protomatter bomb is just a means to an end, the same way protomatter is a means to an end. Protomatter normally would have been completely safe until you added the nanites to it, which allows it to just spread the Chimeran infection to everything. And I don't think that we can be affected by it because we aren't Borg. At least we didn't get affected by it. You know, maybe our shields were up, maybe we were too far away, but if we'd been affected by it, we would have known it by now. Let's see, Arwen said, we know our Borg have been kind of struggling since the events of the TFOs, and the fact that so many of them were disconnected during that time. Having a second mind on each creature that forms a second hive mind would be a good redundancy, especially if it contained a species with telepathic abilities as part of the Chimeran. 3 different creatures in historical mythos. Think of it like a system network where you have a second redundant LAN network to the local devices. So you think that the symbiotes are being used as a sort of fallback LAN connection between certain groups? I'm trying to remember. Is it just Borg ships, or had they assimilated any other ships at the end of Best Laid Plans? What ships did they have in that fleet? If only I had video recordings of all of those cutscenes. I'm making a funny there, because of course I do. You guys are about to get a deep dive look into my complete and utter lack of anything resembling, what's it called? Organization. Name. Ba 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 ba. It's for sure one of the longer things I have in here. Is it you? Oh, I might have guessed right on the first try. We love to see that. Ah, I was absolutely right about which cutscene it was. We love that. We also get another shot of... Wait, is this the right one? Oh yeah, totally was. Okay. For one, Chimerans. Those have gotta be true. Those have gotta be symbiotes. I don't know what the red thing behind their mask is, though. Whatever it is, probably cherry flavored. I love that theory. Also, I'd like to have a quick word with whatever Windows engineer decided that they should have the keybind for the pause play button be Control P. When spacebar also freaking works, why? Why would you say Control P? Why? Why would you even make that a thing? Why does that need to be a thing? The spacebar is a key that pauses and plays videos, and it has been that way forever. I am insulted at the idea that they would even suggest that any sane person would click Control P over the spacebar. Sorry, completely irrelevant to the conversation at hand, but oh my god, that's so dumb. Anyway, back to lore. God. Control P. So stupid. It is Microsoft. Alright, so what ships do we see? So that's the Enterprise, super heavily damaged. The Lucetta is super heavily damaged. The Border is also super heavily damaged. Oh yeah, I was in the Augur here just because I wanted a different ship that would make sense to be like with all of these things. So, the Harmony has currently Chimerans on it. We have a cube, which I would like to add is even more terraformed than the last time we saw it. Remember, when we saw one in Best Laid Plans, it had just like panels on it that were terraformed. At this point, it looks like it's almost multiple cubes like smashed together. You know, it's growing randomly at this point. It looks like multiple cubes all smushed together and fused. And then you have the probes, which look like they have like organic stuff growing off of them. And just doing a quick note here, when they warp in, they've got all of these purple lights, and then it's more of like an orange reddish kind of glow. But they're like, the fungal creep grows and it completely overtakes these ships. Let's see. So I see spheres that have like tails on them, probes, and the two cubes, but that's it. And see, look, even with the spheres, they have like these mini spheres almost growing out of them. And underneath all of the other stuff, it's almost like a organic material underneath the cybernetic parts of it, you know? And it puts out a signal, a purple signal. What could the purple signal mean? It's calling to somebody. Maybe it's to the Borg. What if it's an interplexing beacon? Star Trek First Contact. The Borg were trying to signal reinforcements that were super far away. Once they control the Midas array, they could use it as an interplexing beacon to call Borg from anywhere. Be a nice first contact callback. But it's basically a long-range communication device. But it should be noted that these Borg are more likely, at least at some point, were our universe's Borg. Let's run through best laid plans and get a shot of the cube that we see in this TFO.
I thank you for this. Lead the way.
I've set up a sensor link. We'll be able to share any data we find.
I will not stand for a repeat of Eok, Atosi Prime, or Draconis 3. The list of genocides goes on.
Scans
animations are
indicate
so cool.
slight elevations in cosmic neutrinos and small-scale quantum fluctuations.
Sensors reveal residual protomatter subspace markers. Our thieves are likely nearby.
I bet they are closer than we think.
I'm detecting a biogenetic energy signature located within a nearby gravitic distortion.
That must be the protomatter.
Biogenetic.
With these
There's that phrase again. I wonder if that was on purpose. Biogenetic being mentioned once again. I sure hope a cloaked Zenkethy station doesn't pop up in front of me.
passive sensor arrays are detecting an enormous gravimetric distortion close by. This does not align with typical Zenkethy technology.
I'm so happy.
A Zenkethy satellite has decloaked in the distance. Approach with caution. Shields up.
Nuh-uh.
We need to scan the satellite to identify what type of Zenkethy technology we're up against.
Scanning,
A
scanning.
weapons platform. This satellite is armed.
It's armed. Is it legged? Not anymore. It's exploded. Ow, warp core breach, my one weakness.
A cloaked Zenkethy space station? As far as I'm aware, that's unheard of.
We'll need to deactivate these satellites to get to the space station. We are being engaged by the decloaking Zenkethy fleet. Battle stations.
Whole stations. Ow. Warp core breach, my one weakness.
Satellite Alpha has been deactivated. More Zenkethy vessels incoming.
What is a sock sword? What did they just call us? I need to know how insulted I should be.
Satellite Beta is down.
I love the fact that the Steadfast is space drifting right now. Insanely cool.
Stand down, Braun. You are in violation of the Zenkethy Alliance peace agreement.
Deactivating the satellite. Oh, JK, I should probably fly out of that plasma cloud and then deactivate the satellite.
Good work. Satellite Gamma has been neutralized.
The Archer condemns you as part of the betrayer. We spit on your worthless peace agreement and its empty, meaningless words. Depart from this system immediately.
Well, they talk about splitting our E off in two.
See to the splitting of your Yath in two.
You couldn't split my E off in two if you tried.
You fail to see the madness of your ways, Thrawn. You have been duped, brainwashed into following the path of carnage. You've lost sight of the Zenkethi's original goal, eradicating enemy force.
You grow soft, Paul, and weak. Your ideal, your peace.
How did you acquire the proto-matter, Thrawn?
Wouldn't you like to know? Where's the sock?
Oof. That wasn't very nice.
Alright, we yield. You win. This time.
Haha. Now give me that proto-matter.
The proto-matter has been ejected. Recommend scanning before pickup. It could be a trap.
It's already glowing purple. So, it's set up to send out a ping to the Borg.
Its structure, though outwardly Lucari, has been modified to fit Aetherian technology we've previously encountered, with some Zenkethi alterations as well. Essentially, it's been weaponized. Not only that, but this device has been injected with nanites whose origin matches the data provided to us by Cooperative Borg leader Director Hugh. They are compatible with the specimen he mentioned in his report.
So, the Aetherians and the Zenkethi turned this protomatter into a bomb. First, it was just a protomatter bomb. The Chimeran specimen purposefully turned it into a thing that would make more Chimerans. I think it's drawn to protomatter. And it just wants to spread like any Borg.
We must destroy the proto-matter. Recall the events of Dranur. We cannot let this device fall into enemy hands.
I think that is a very true statement.
I, for one, am of the opinion that we should study it. I know it's risky, but this could present us with invaluable data. Is this not why we explore the galaxy? Not only to protect other life forms, but to learn more about them. Ultimately, this protomatter is of Lucari origin, and it's up to us to safekeep it. Captain Parr, I promise you, we will do just that. We shall be more cautious with our gifts in the future. A repeat of the events on the Dranur colony will not happen on my watch.
Yeah, so about that...
There may be a way to safely dismantle the device and recover the protomatter in order to purify it. However, it looks like the Rescava can't get a lock on it. Our phase discriminators were damaged in battle. Would you beam it over? I'll set up a containment field before you beam it aboard.
That seems oddly specific and poorly timed. Would you beam it over? Would you beam this protomatter on board your ship? And then a Borg cube shows up.
It's locked onto the protomatter device.
We cannot allow them to leave with the proto-matter.
Weapon systems malfunction. We're unable to remodulate our weapons to bypass the cube's shield.
What if the Borg were trying to protect us from the protomatter?
Admiral, we must retaliate. Helm, get a lock on the proto-matter with our tractor beams. Now!
What if the Borg very purposefully did not want us to get that protomatter?
Shields are incurring significant damage. If they neutralize us, it's over.
Captain Parr! Our tractor beams are giving in. We can't hold on for much longer.
Weapons are back online.
Resistance is futile.
It's useless. The Borg cube has adapted.
Can we beam aboard and fight?
Too risky. Scans show thousands of cybernetic life forms aboard, including Trill and Tellarite Borg.
No choice.
I feel like mentioning the Trill there was very, very, very purposeful.
Absolutely not. This protomatter has been tampered with. It could be unstable.
It's the only way. We're out of time.
There must be another way.
It's now or never.
Damn. All right. A targeted Higgs boson pulse should trigger the protomatter reaction. We need to get
Activate
closer
the
to Borg
Higgs
cube
cannon.
to detonate the protomatter.
So we see some of the random cube things starting to grow on it, but it doesn't look nearly as bad as it did later in Best Laid Plans. I took a screenshot of it. And I put it in the lore chat. But I want to compare that to the cubes that we saw in the mission later. Because clearly that fungal creep just gets worse and worse and worse over time.
Experience true intentions.
It isn't over yet. We don't know the consequences of the transformation we have just witnessed.
Already on it. The Lucari Concordium will share its findings with Alliance Command and its allies. Count on us to keep you informed.
The citizens of the Federation and her allies.
And to you both. You're right, Captain Parr. What we saw was alarming and awe-inspiring in equal measure. To my knowledge, no one has ever terraformed a Borg cube before, if that's even what happened. For now, I've been assigned another priority mission, but let's stay in touch. This doesn't bode well.
So where's Kamarake go?
I will notify Alliance Command of our success. In particular, the neutralization of some Tethi rebels in 13 Ceti, and the elimination of proto-matter-related threats. This does not, of course, include the strange monstrosity we witnessed today. I will reach out when I know more. I am thankful that proto-matter no longer lies in the hands of the Zenkethi or the Borg. You saw what happened to any innocent life that had even minimal contact with the Dransuli. Your actions today were brave and principled, and I look forward to our next encounter.
Me as well. Let's fly. Later. So at this point, the Chimeran is still on board this station. And it's corrupted it too. That's not good. But what if the Borg have lost control of this particular specimen at this point? Could explain why they were so keen on getting that protomatter.
And to myself that I would help save as many lives as possible after Zenkethi forces decimated entire worlds in an effort to eradicate the Dransuli. This vow is one I intend to keep. Admiral Kamarke and I are tracking the protomatter. You will be notified should we come across further suspicious activity.
Hey, Wolf Grey, how's it going?
These Ethereans seem to walk the path of destruction. If they knowingly supplied warfaring Zenkethi with weaponized protomatter, then they are both dangerous and provocative. I am sure you also noticed the strange fungal creep that overtook the Zenkethi space station as we departed 13 Ceti. Whatever this is, it is spreading until our paths merge once more. Par out.
Thank you. I do not need another one of these protomatter thingies. I do not need another one of these. I have many. I will keep these two overload ones. Boom, 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 boom. All right. So, let's take a couple of minutes and go through everything that we went through. So, we have the new lore blog. Our big takeaway from going through that a little bit earlier is the fact that the Aetherian axioms can directly influence the minds of those who hear it. Which means the people on board the 3 flagships have been compromised. Sean, in particular, has probably been compromised. The same axioms in computer form can also be used to take control of the ships, but we kind of figured that already from the Bordeskiew's view screen. So that's a big problem. The next one is, I guess, all the stuff that we've been doing with the Chimerans. We have a pretty strong guess that at least part of them are the Trill symbiotes. They can spread their infection through protomatter, and they seem to have like a specific drive to it, but it's not the only thing that they could use to spread their infection, I guess. They're capable of terraforming / assimilating things on their own, as we saw with the satellite and the stations at 13 City. But if they happen to come across a protomatter bomb, they can do a whole lot of damage with it. And my theory is that that cube came in to secure that protomatter. And we ended up, detonating it and spreading this thing further. But it seems like the Aetherians probably came across the Chimeran specimen at some point before actively dealing with us. I've been trying to figure out what the hell it is. So I no longer think that the Chimerans have really anything to do with the Aetherians. They're just drawn to whatever the Aetherians have. I'm not entirely sure what that is yet, but there's something going on. But with that, I said this is going to be a bit of a shorter stream, so we are going to close out the stream here for the night. I am going to be talking a whole lot in the STO lore chat over the next couple of days with all the theories. I'm going to go into the whiteboard, add everything, and I'll be posting that up probably sometime tomorrow. If you guys have not already joined the STO Discord, you should absolutely do that. I do not have a link. I need to get one. Can I get a link for STO Discord? I think so. I think this link should work. Eoth's skull. That is good to know. Okay, I think this Discord link should work. To join the STO official Discord, we will be in the STO Lore Hub talking all things lore. I hope to be back probably next week. I will not be around Thursday and Friday. Bit of IRL stuff. My sister is getting married, so I will be doing that rehearsal dinner and the actual ceremony and all of that stuff. So that'll be fun. But I will see everybody next week for more streams, more lore, and more fun. If you enjoyed the stream and want to see more, consider dropping a follow over on Twitch and a subscription over on YouTube. It helps those channels grow every single day, and I always appreciate it. We have our own Discord where we get up to all kinds of trouble. The link to that is in chat, discord.gg/Endeavor Studios, and you can find that link and many more at our main website, www.endeavorgaming.com. But alrighty, that's all I've got for the evening. I hope everybody has a fantastic rest of their night and a great rest of their week. As always, you have been live with Endeavor Gaming, and remember to keep calm and game on.